A while back, I mentioned a group of cars I got off eBay that had a lot of mud inside of them. It looked like they had all been played with and given a mud bath. And this is one of those. If you take a look there, you can see the mud inside of it. It's a Hot Wheels surf crate. And earlier, I did a similar restoration on one of these dirt clods. That one was a Hot Wheels rat bomb. And I thought, well, let me bust out another one of these dirt clods and see what I can do with it. So the casting itself isn't in that bad a shape, other than the obvious filth. I even needed to bust out the punch to get this thing apart. And as you'll see here, the dirt's really well dried out, which helps. And once I take that center plastic section out, and you can see that the pipes and the engine chunk, now there's a plastic interior. And then there's also this, you saw the dirt come out there. And then when I get this other part out, that's basically all of the dirt. This was coated in chrome, is hard to believe, originally. But all that play use and dirt over time must have worn all that chrome off. I thought this was cool. They put the Surf Crate logo on the back of that interior. It's just cut into it. It's some of those little touches that Hot Wheels does that are really cool. Figured I'd do a wheel swap, so I took the real riders off this van. It looked like the rat bomb I did, I ended up using Muscle Machines wheels on it. And I put some of those up against this casting to see what it would look like, and it did not work. So I ended up going with those real riders off that van. And then I won't take you through the whole process on here, but I do put axle tubes on here because it wasn't going to work out as a direct drop in. I've been really lucky on a few recently. This one wasn't one of those lucky ones, but you've seen the axle tubes done several times. I did the same process as you've seen me and a lot of other builders do. So that worked out really well, and I just got around to working on the casting. It was play worn, and again, it was filthy. I mean, I don't need to just overemphasize that, but the casting had been well played with, but it was in pretty darn good shape for having been well played with. It wasn't terrible. So after I filed down the rough areas, went and hit it on the Scotch-Brite pad. That it's interesting. Whatever the original paint was, and that it was that odd silverish color. It wasn't cleaning up all that well. I did hit the base with Krylon Metallic Dark Metal spray. It is a metal base, and then I hit it with that spray. And that's why if you look at this, you'll see it is a metallic paint. So it gave it kind of an interesting look. And so filled in some of the holes there in the frame and stuff with the Gundam markers. And then I brought a little detail to it. Got the Sharpie pins out and got a few of the little areas to pop. I'm just trying to bring out some of the detail. The casting really has a surprising amount of detail for basically as simple of a vehicle as it is. And as much as the dirt was hiding, this is one of those castings where Hot Wheels really went all out in a lot of ways and put a lot of detail on it. And I really appreciate that. There's things you do not see unless you take it apart. Like the interior on this, like I don't know if you noticed on that earlier picture of the base, but there was actually a grid pattern on the interior of the floorboard that you have absolutely no way of knowing is there in the finished casting, but yet they put that detail there. So now this was the plastic engine, well, most of the engine, exhaust pipes, that kind of thing, are on this chunk. So what I did on this, as you noticed before, the chrome had already been stripped completely off of this through use. And so I did not need to even consider dropping that in super clean to strip chrome off because there was no chrome to strip off. So what I thought I'd do is I'd hit that with flat black paint just to give me a base to work with. Then I added the details to it. And then what the plan was then to just manually put the chrome on it. I wasn't going to try and, it's not like there was any original chrome to preserve. So then I thought, well, why not just spray paint it, black to start off with, rather than trying to spray paint it chrome and then putting dark details on that. So that's the approach I decided to use. I had to come up with a creative way to hold it on the helping hand. So I just made a roll out of that blue painter's tape, stuck it through that hole in the middle. That hole is typically where a portion of the engine pops out through that's molded into the base. Basically, the intake comes popping out through there. That's made of metal and is part of the base. This is one of the two plastic interior pieces. This is a solid hard plastic as opposed to that seat section. And the section that I showed that had the Surf Crate logo on it, that's that funky, soft, rubberized kind of plastic stuff that they use on the inside. So thanks to my Patreon subscribers, I thought, you know what? I'm going to get myself one of those 2mm Molotow chrome pins. I had one of the 1mm ones. I've had it for a while. And since I had that, I always thought, well, you don't need to get a 2mm one. It actually, I wish I had purchased the 2mm one from the start. It's so much easier to use than the 1mm pin. I can't begin to describe the difference. So if you're considering buying one of these pins and you don't have one yet, I highly recommend getting the 2mm size. If all you have is the 1mm and you're debating over getting the 2mm like I had been doing, go ahead and get it. It's a much easier pin to use. And there you see me with the Citadel paint. I had already coated that front section with black, and then when I went around it with the Molotow chrome, I just needed to touch up a few areas. So then it's time to bust out the Nuln Oil just to give it a weathered look to the bottom, make it look more realistic. Again, this is just a black wash, and you can create it a lot of different ways if you want. I just really enjoy using the Nuln Oil, the Citadel Nuln Oil. As I'm sure you've noticed in a few of the videos before, I like the Citadel paints. I really enjoy using them. They're very easy to use, and you figure this. One of the advantages of doing such small projects is paint lasts forever. So I've had those Citadel paints easily over a year now, and I don't think I've made a dent in them really. So I'm going over the engine with the Nuln Oil as well. Again, just weathering some of those sections. Excuse me. You notice that front tank I had basically hit with the Sharpie pen as well. And that gave it the Nuln Oil gave it a better weathered look. So then I just got out the Tamiya Clear Red to do the taillights. As you see, I've already painted the casting at this point, and I'll go over the paints with you that I ended up using as the sprays because it's kind of interesting. For the interior, the engine, and the pipes, that plastic part where the chrome had already been stripped off, I hit that with the Rust-Oleum Flat Black. That base, as I mentioned before, I hit with the Krylon Fusion Metallic Dark Metal Spray. And then for the body, I used my favorite, the Metal Cast paints. I used the base coat and then hit it with that purple. And then went over it with the Minwax Fast Drying Polyurethane. I'm sorry, I'm fumbling over my tongue today. And as I've said before, I love that clear coat. It's been the best clear that I have found so far. And so all the pieces are done at this point. It's time to put it back together. Something I didn't point out before, you notice those little pins sticking out on the exhaust pipe. Well, there's matching holes on the side of the body. And so naturally, I was a little worried about accidentally breaking one of the pipes at this point, but it went together fairly easily. So then you'll notice there was only one post to this. And so there's the back half of the casting that pops into that hole in the back. And then I had obviously drilled and tapped it before, and I had forgotten that I had actually used a Phillips head screw on this one. And that once you have the right driver, then you can actually put that screw in without many problems. But when you have the wrong one, it's a little tougher. So finally, I kind of get my act together. I'm bumbling and fumbling in a lot of ways. I can't talk today. I'm using the wrong screwdriver to put it together. But there you have the results. This thing's low and mean, rolls really well on those real riders. I love the purple color. In general, you've seen me do the metal cast paints probably far too often. But I love them. So there we are originally, the dirt clod. I actually have quite a few more of these dirt clods. It was a huge group that I got a great deal on eBay, probably because they were all filled with dirt. And, nobody wanted them. So, hey, I'll take them. It was a good price. There's the end result. I think those wheels worked really well on it, and I like the results. Hope you like it too. I'll give you a turntable shot here in a second. I am trying to work on the lighting here, and as I mentioned before, I'm at my new location, the ending location for me. So this is where I'm going to be doing all of my builds from now on. So I need to get the lighting worked out a little better and that kind of thing. But be patient with me. I'll get there. I'd like to thank all of you for watching this video. Hope you like the results. If you're not a subscriber already, please consider subscribing. And those of you who do subscribe, thank you very much. Special thanks to my Patreon members. I really do appreciate your support. And thanks for watching. All of you stay safe and healthy out there. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.